Chapter 21. The toxic magician is always aware that no matter how large a person may be, no matter how many degrees or years of experience he or she may have, common people are fundamentally children and must be treated as children without their becoming aware of the process. One of the main themes of childhood is the gaining of information. This is called learning, and adults do a fine job of making children stupid by their methods of indoctrination. Compared to adults, children have minimal information. On the other hand, children have less perceptual and cognitive bias than adults. For both the adult and the child, information is constantly being redefined, not only in content, but also in the terms of how real information is defined. Put simply, real information consists of learning how to ignore and select data. For example, 40 years ago, few children had much information about sex. Today's sex is so common that it is not really information at all. Once everything becomes available to everyone, it becomes nothing for everyone. People appear more sophisticated today, but as the gross level of sophistication rises, the real information becomes more hidden and valuable. When you hear an advertisement disclose, be the first to know what the markets are doing. Remember that it is being heard by millions of people at once. Where's the real information? It's mostly in the fact that millions of people each think they are hearing the real information first. This is the illusion that TV provides, that you and those around you alone are being entertained. In fact, the more that people feel isolated, yet tied together, the easier it is for the master to reign. He knows that real information can't be known. If real information could be had by everyone, it would immediately become worthless. Information, by its very definition, implies ignorance and exclusivity. We require ignorance in order to be informed. What most people call information is nothing more than another level of noise. Some optimists who are aware of the problem simply state that the information is available, but the use of the information is still dependent on the intelligence of the population. Mass intelligence is nothing more than mass information. Zero is still zero. What is fascinating about this entire process is that everyone thinks they know more, but in fact, they know less. Moreover, what they do know is next to useless and is often misinformation. Thus, each new level of information is nothing more than a higher level of nonsense. What we generally call information is nothing more than a higher level of incompetence. People forget that, like individuals, each civilization rises to its highest level of incompetence. The toxic magician knows that if you help someone or something long enough, it will finally wish to be left alone. At that point, help it a bit more and then drop it. At that point, it will become like England, a land of non-entities with expensive titles. This is the meaning of what we call information. The more teachers, the dumber the students. Every mother's son simply knows more buzzwords, but does that mean he knows what the buzzing is? Is it a bee or a bomb? How much real wealth and how much real information does anyone really have? And more importantly, how long will they have it? Wealth which can be easily stolen is not wealth at all. Most people are simply storehouses for a master thief, with more and more reliance placed on devices which can be easily intercepted and manipulated. How long will it take for a toxic collapse? These issues are important considerations for the master. His goal is to help information become more worthless while creating the illusion that it has more value. He does this by helping people ask more questions in very well-controlled and well-defined situations. He also promotes the collapse by helping criminalize behavior which interferes with the information highway. He knows that the criminalization of human behavior serves one primary purpose: the destruction of the system which defines crime. The more criminals, the more resources necessary to control crime and criminals. The more resources required, the more economic disruption, and thus the more criminals required to fill the gaps in the system.
Chapter 22. All megasystems become top-heavy and chaotic. This is much like a family with more children than funds available to feed them. The parents become desperate to hold together the fortress their egos had built. The toxic magician knows that every structure serves to keep people in as well as out. As long as there are doors, there will be prisons. The key is to get the prisoner to pay you for services that he could provide better for himself. Thus, the first task is to teach him that he can't care for himself and requires assistance. Once he accepts his dependency on metaphysical grounds and submits, his ownership is guaranteed. Slavery, as we knew it before, for example, the Civil War in the U.S. was a bad thing. It made us aware of something best forgotten: universal hierarchical slavery. When overt slavery ended, we lost our example of what slavery was really all about. Slavery slipped back into our unconscious. All good practitioners know how to manipulate the common man's desire to be a slave while maintaining the illusion of being a free person. It is better for the common man to think that he is free as he is held in the arms of his caretaker. Democracy is the best political system of slavery ever invented. In a democracy, the slaves believe that they are free and have a voice in their affairs. Thus, they are willing slaves, and as such, the possibility of a revolt is much less than in an overt system of slavery. This simple fact is supported by the number of books which have been written about self-esteem. The desired results are impossible to obtain since a slave can only have false self-esteem, and even this is a theft accomplished by identifying with his master. There are no free people, only slaves who have more privileges than others. Even the masters are slaves to their greed and terror. Control over the lives of millions doesn't free one from having to pay the price. There are no real successes in this world, as we are all bound in the brotherhood of death. If you have to die, you have failed. Chapter 23. One of the most important ideas to get through your head is that most people do not feel pain from being used and misused by a good toxic magician. If they feel any pain at all, it is minimal. The fact of the matter is simple. People are so familiar with abuse and misuse that they are unaware of it. This is worth repeating. Most people are so used to being abused that for all intents and purposes, they are unaware that they are being abused and, in most cases, expect it. More interesting is the fact that when they do feel abused, they get upset by events and actions which make them unaware of their real condition and the chronic abuse which they suffer. Moreover, they take the events of life, both good and bad, very personally. This fact alone contributes to their overall sense of malaise and stupidity. They are hardwired to suffer, and in most cases, to suffer without much awareness. A dead suffering is the norm and is expected. Understanding the origin of human behavior is like looking for a place to land a plane when the earth below is covered by a huge thick cloud. Human behavior makes no sense from a hedonic point of view, nor does it make sense from any alternative idea. The human being is an unfinished entity, burdened by a strange mix of cortical and subcortical processes and a body which requires immense artifices to protect and assure it of its immortality. Chapter 24. One thing we know very well is that most humans have been hired on as extras. They are needed for this scene or that for a few moments here and there, and then they are gone. In fact, they are not even forgotten, because to be forgotten, you first have to be remembered. Most people are extras who somehow have become deluded into thinking they are stars, albeit burnt out ones. A few people are not extras on the stage, but are stuntmen hired to play dangerous roles for the real star. But even stuntmen are rare. It's funny to walk into a bank or a grocery store and watch the tellers and clerks. A good toxic magician knows how to watch them and manipulate them. He knows that they feel that they have a little power, and they do, but they are taught not to abuse it because it is a sign of bad taste. Just watch them drool as they count out the money or say no to someone, and then watch them hang their little heads heads as they gaze blankly at their paychecks. Nonetheless, each is a star. Each has a room somewhere where he is king. Somewhere people recognize them as they perform their daily chores. Watch the smile on their faces when you recognize them. Watch how some try to hold back their enthusiasm like a dead puppy dog. Others flaunt their authority like a bit player who has 30 seconds on a second camera. But the practitioner knows who these people really are. He and even they are not completely fooled. They are the extras, the hired hands. They perform a service which some ape or machine could do as well and someday very soon will. They are completely expendable, and those higher up the ladder know all too well how their middle management part can quickly revert to head clerk. A toxic magician will treat such people as important or unimportant depending on his mood and what he wants from them. Oh yes, toxic magicians have moods too, and yes, they like to see the extras twitch once in a while. After all, life is tough, and watching someone squirm a bit can sometimes be uplifting, particularly if they are interfering with your will. However, more often than not, it pays to be nice to the hired help. The manipulator is well aware that the cleric can become a monster once someone in authority allows him to play a short part as boss. There's nothing more funny than seeing the little man inflate his chest and try to walk in shoes which are too long and not wide enough. After his first day on the new job, everyone feels sorry for him. Somehow he doesn't fit the part. But soon enough, no one will notice the difference. Many of the extras will have gone, some of the audience will have moved on, and the star, well, who can tell? Is her new billing for real, or is it just another temp job waiting until someone better comes along? In a strange way, it takes a lot of strength or a powerful numbing agent to realize how insignificant you really are, what minor roles you play, and how everything you love and cherish can be taken away from you in the wink of a gnat's eye. But this is the simple truth, and most people are constantly made unaware of their real situation. This keeps them tame and prevents them from revolt. Chapter 25. Every toxic magician finds out exactly what a person is frightened to lose. And one of the most obvious and primal is their apparent sense of freedom. That this feeling consists of nothing but the freedom to choose more or less what to eat, come and go as they please, more or less, say what's on their mind, more or less, buy what they want, stay up late, have sex, try something illicit once in a while, spend money on things they like, is a joke. Is this all there is? As a grown-up, he is acutely aware and yet must keep secret from himself that all these privileges which have been given to him, these rights which he has earned, can all at once, for no good reason, be taken away. Why must this be kept a secret? Because he has been told that he can lose them only if he deserves to. That is, if he does something wrong, if he disobeys. The practitioner is completely aware of this horrifying lie and often needs to go no further in planning his strategies. He knows what everyone is frightened of and why they are frightened. He knows that people believe they have been given rights and privileges, and from their personal experience, they are completely correct. Of course, in reality, no one has given anyone anything. The master has it one up on everyone. He knows that he really doesn't own anything. He knows that everything is borrowed, including his life. Common man, however, always believes that which never was a reality. This ability comes from a strong imagination and the inability to distinguish the existential condition of his life from his hopes, wishes, and dreams. In this sense, common man lives in limbo. He can neither climb the mountain nor descend to hell.